Hello everyone and welcome to another installment of Walking with Dave. I am Dave, we are walking, and this is Walking with Dave. As you can see, we are walking right now into Dade Battlefield. Let me just get a shot of the sign. We're out here in beautiful Central Florida, here at Dade Battlefield. These stone workings that we're passing by right now are from the 40s when this was constructed as a park to come visit. But I'm gonna give you guys the history of this place. We're gonna do a little walk in nature. This is the site of Dade Battle, where Major Dade was leading a band of troops, about 100 or so men, on Military Road, Fort King Road, going from Tampa to Fort King, Ocala. They were ambushed by Seminole forces, and a battle ensued, and the Seminoles gave them a whooping, unfortunately, and it was really, they used to call it Dade Massacre, and then for whatever reason, it's more referred to as Dade Battlefield these days. For the record, I did drive in and pay the fee, the $3 for the car. Up on the left over here, let's go past this. And I'll just give us a quick rundown of where we're going to be going today. So as we can see, there's an upturned cannon. Every time you see an upturned cannon, that means that someone of military significance fell to their death there. So when we come back up this way, and we're getting a glimpse right there actually of, we're getting a glimpse of Old Military Road. I want to go into what that is as well. We're going to come back up this way. I'm going to approach the battlefield from a different direction. The ambush happened over down this way. I'm going to actually circle around over here and make a big circle and then come up the way that they would have been traveling when they were ambushed. And we'll see some interesting spots along the way. Okay, so let's make our way over here. I'm taking a little bit of an untraditional kind of walk around. It's a beautiful day out. We're going to be kind of entering into the area of where the Seminole Indians would have done a lot of the staging and stuff like that for this particular ambush. You know, the Seminole Indians were stalking the American soldiers for, for I don't know how exactly. I'm not a super expert on this place here, but they were stalking them for at least days. You know what I mean? Not if not from exactly when they would have left Tampa. Fort down there. I forget what the name of it off the top of my head. And they were going to walk. These guys were walking. If you look at the map and see Tampa to Ocala, and they were walking, man, I'll tell you, that's quite the walk. I mean, it's going to take a few days, but I found something pretty interesting. You know, I've been here before. There's some interesting things here, outside of just the obvious interesting things. There's a tremendous good energy, and it's usually typically very quiet. So the attack itself was in 1835, and for many years this place was kind of just part of the Florida landscape, I think. And then in like the 40s, they made it a state park, and they built some of these structures and stuff like that, like this gazebo that we're walking towards. And I'm walking towards it because I'm going to point out the kind of stone. And I want to show us something kind of interesting. I think it was it was 1947, I believe, but all these things were put together. There's a little museum. I might take us inside there as well at the end of the walk. All right, it's closed off right now, but they built these structures. You know, people come here for picnics, and it's a nice state park. I recommend a visit if you're in the area. So we're approaching this water fountain up here. Ooh, it's hot out. And I want to show you why I point out this water fountain, because as you can see, it's built in the same stone. I just thought this was so cool. Check this out. Oh, give me June 8th, 1947, right? Pretty cool. June 8th, 1947. So that's when this thing was built. June 8th, 1947. So that's, I believe, probably at the same time that all these other structures are built, and the entrance and stuff like that. Oh, I keep hitting the... I felt tremendous energy when I was just here. You know, I always do a little preliminary walk. There's a bell here. Dinner, you can ring the dinner bell. You know, I always like doing a little prelim walk to pick up some energy and some vibes, and I get myself like a little, get myself motivated and say, all right, cool, let's film a video. Because I'm not gonna lie, folks, sometimes like we all do. This morning I didn't wake up, I don't know if I felt quite like myself, you know what I mean? So I was like, all right, let's go walk it off. And I said, I need to go to a place where I felt some good energy. I just, open fields like this is tremendous. This is beautiful. This is why we come here. I'm gonna go underneath of an amazing tree canopy. This is like a half history video and then half kind of just going out for a stroll. Doing a little exploring. I love walking around here. It's nice and quiet. There's nobody here. You feel like you're, in like an enchanted forest or something like that. That's how I feel, at least. I don't know. Look at this tree canopy that we're entering. Oh, it's pretty much going to be from one tree. Although there's a couple right in front of us, but look at this. Look at this. Isn't that amazing? Something, man. I want to do a walk around. You would think that there were stuff like this during the time in 1835 when the ambush took place, and the Seminoles would have used large canopy covered sections like this, you know, as cover to launch their invasion. What's wild is that little sapling, 1835, that's quite a long time ago. A little sapling back then was now one of the giant trees that is today. Yeah, this tree is just so huge and giant. These old trees that get this big and with all these limbs, giant limbs, it's not even really, I'll be honest with you, it's really not even coming fully through on the camera as it is in real life about how big these limbs are. But they remind me of dinosaurs and monsters or some sort of large animal. And let me see, this will be like a good example because the way that the ferns grow on, this is like their hair or spikes or something like that. You know what I mean? Pretty cool. All right. Continue onward. Should have my hat ready. Hat in hand, but in a different way. Sorry. Alright, sorry, I apologize for that bumpiness. Alright, which way do we want to go? You know what? I was going to start down this way anyway. Alright, let's go this way. Pine Flatwoods Trail. This is what the sign says. Enjoy a leisurely half-mile stroll through our longleaf pine flatwoods. Resource management techniques include prescribed fire being used to restore the flatwoods to their natural condition at the time of Dade's battle in 1835. Pretty cool. So, this is kind of like what it would have looked like. I have an idea of where we are. I want to try to do a full kind of circle and then come back up of where the battle kind of took place. So where we are right now is all area where the Seminoles likely would have been getting ready for the attack. On that same day, the Seminoles, it was actually quite a military strategic, a genius kind of plot they put together and executed. The Seminole Indians attacked both the Dade, right here at the Dade Battlefield, and this brigade moving forward, and they also launched an attack on the fort at Fort King in Ocala, where these people were marching to. So it was a double whammy that day, and it was a blowout here, and right off the top of my head, I'll be honest with you, I'm not too sure exactly what it was like and what happened in Fort King. We'll make our way there to Fort King as well, eventually. We're out here walking the trails of Dade Battlefield. That's what we're doing today. Nature trail. I always like a good nature trail. It's beautiful, I'll tell you. It's pretty cool. Which way do we want to go? We'll come this way. Is this just like a roundabout? I'll tell you, I feel the sun. Okay. Maybe we'll see a tortoise. I kind of want to walk the other way for a little. We kind of came from that direction. Some prescribed. As I think about it, here you see some burnt logs from prescribed burn. And for those of you who don't understand or know what a prescribed burn is exactly what it sounds like. It's a prescribed burn. They pick areas that need a burning because nature's going to do a burn one way or the other. The lightning's going to strike. Nature knows how to take care of itself. So you kind of want to help nature, because if nature just takes care of itself, then that's random fires starting, and it's not good. So they do a prescribed burn. They monitor areas, and when there's too much dried stuff that falls on the ground and whatever measures they use to determine that this is an area that's likely, because if they don't do it, someone will or lightning will strike and a fire could start. So they'll do it, man. They will come in and lock the area off, burn it out, burn what needs to be burned, and then from there we grow anew, much like the phoenix. From the ashes, new growth comes. I mean, within a couple of weeks, you start to see things come back up. Probably even sooner than that. What a lovely day. I'm just happy to be looking at the camera. I'm not always looking at the camera. That's why it gets kind of bumpy. Or if it looks like I'm not, you know what I mean? I apologize. I'm still getting used to this. We'll figure it out. Maybe eventually I'll get some better stuff. I want to get up and rolling. Wow. Let me share this view with us. I just love the way it looks through the pines. So it's currently 2023. I first discovered this place back in 2016. I brought up this trip a couple times already. Back then I was working in West Palm Beach area, and on the weekends I was living out of a hotel. It was kind of like a creative gig. I was down here. I had a rental car. I was living out of a hotel. It was a normal hours of a gig, pretty much. You know what I mean? Monday through Friday. I'm just kind of taking all of this in right now. And at first I was like, West Palm Beach was kind of boring, I'll be honest with you. And there was a lot of traffic, and I spent most of my time there anyway, so I wanted to get out. I always loved Orlando. I love Central Florida. So I said, you know what, let's On the weekends, I was just going to get myself a hotel room in Florida, in Orlando, and go off. And I was like, oh, I'll go to the. At first, I was like, oh, I'll just go to all the theme parks. And I went to Epcot, I went to Universal, and those places are great, but they're crowded. It was like it was not exactly recharging my battery from the work week. So I said I need to start visiting some more places that are, that are a little bit more. Maybe have nature and history, because I love that aspect of Disney World, where there's little pockets of nature, little pockets of history there, right? So I discovered these places: Dade Battlefield, okay, the Indian Mounds, um, Fort King, all right, and I realized that there are a lot more great places to spend time in Central Florida than Disney World. And here we are, folks, and it's true. This is honestly this is way more fun and fulfilling. Listen, it's different. It's a different kind of fun. Obviously, if you haven't been to Disney World in a long time, I'm a sucker for Pirates of the Caribbean, Haunted Mansion. I mean, I do. I love those rides. But there's something about the Florida exploration that is just like none other. It was like a very interesting. It's always an interesting driving around. Beautiful. We got some cloud coverage right now. Nice white clouds. It doesn't look like a rain cloud, but a nice big, fluffy, chunky one that moved in front of the sun. Gives us a break. Now, I've been here before, and I've seen some big tortoises. So, boy, that would be cool if we see some today. I've been going on my walks here in Central Florida for quite some time, and I tell you, there's been plenty of times where I said to myself, "Oh man, I should be rolling a camera right now." I have so many little moments with animals. The other day I was talking about, I think on here I was talking about dragonflies, but I've seen a lot of cool things: tortoises, dragonflies, big beetles carrying logs of poop. It's disgusting, but nonetheless quite interesting. So all where we are right now is our areas, where the Seminoles would have approached. We're on the outskirts now of Dade Battlefield. Well, I'm going to sneak up from behind and come in and get onto Military Road. Fort King Road, Military Road, it's got a couple different names. All right, let's go this way. And when we get on there, I'll let us know. But I'll give you a little update I'll give you a little background on it now. It's actually fascinating. So, Military Road, Fort King Road, of course, this was the road that the military used to travel from Tampa, the fort in Tampa, I forget what it's called, the fort in Tampa to Fort King in Ocala. But this trail goes back way further than that, okay? They believe that this trail is part of the trail that De Soto would have used, who was a Spanish explorer that came here in like the 1500s, that landed in Tampa and marched all the way up through Florida up to Alabama and Georgia, I think. And they call it De Soto's Trail. And historians have been trying to put that together for a long time. And I think it's pretty widely accepted that he would have used this trail, because that trail, which was Military Road and De Soto's Trail, De Soto's Path, these were all ancient paths that go back also thousands of years. Okay? We know that there have been inhabitants here in Florida for 12,000 years. So some of these paths would have been just natural paths that could be around for 2,000, 3,000 years. Okay, because they would have been the foot highways of the ancient peoples. Now, of course, in this area they would be using streams and rivers and stuff like that as well, and canoes. But certainly a good solid walking path would have been for hunting and other things, and to veer off into the different villages. And not much of it is left today. Not much of it is left today in Florida. We're in actually one of the few rare spots where you can actually get to it on a public land. You pay your $3 and you come in and you can actually go onto the road, and that's where we will be going there. We're still on the outskirts of we're going to come around, but most of it has been developed, and you lose it over time, and maybe on a few private ranches there are still some parts of the path that are still around, you know what I mean, stuff like that. 301 kind of runs about a half-mile away from it, but perpendicular with it, so similar path. Okay, because it's just a good route. Humans know and seem to have an interesting way of finding. Okay, this seems to have worked the best. I tell you, the Seminoles are a very fascinating, interesting people. I've really become fascinated learning about them since moving here to Florida, having a great deal of respect for them. And Chief Osceola, an alligator, which one of the camps was named back there. Chief Osceola, who's actually has another name that he goes by, which was Billy Powell, I believe. I believe he was half white and half Seminole. But he was, a pretty big deal. He was their leader. He was a military genius, a very brave and wise dude. Fortunately, like a lot of the Native Americans, the American government didn't give him fair treatment. I'm pretty sure he died in a fort, locked up in South or North Carolina, something like that. But yeah, on that day, Chief Osceola, he commanded the soldiers that attacked Fort Ocala, Fort King and Ocala, and then I believe it was Chief Alligator down here who led the attack here at Dade Battlefield. But like I said before, it was a two-pronged, pretty genius thing. Now you have to take into consideration that there's no walkie-talkies, that there's no, such a lack of any type of military planning, of tools, I should say, the equipment used that you would think, and pretty wild. And so the property right over here is like someone's private home, like beyond this fence, and like you have to say to yourself, that's pretty cool. That's pretty wild. You live on hallowed ground. I always think that every battlefield is hallowed ground, for obvious reasons, right? Because people fought and died there. And then when you make a battlefield park out of it, such as like where we are right now, it's a pretty. This is the way I see it. It's like there was a time when a very traumatic event happened on the property of the battle itself, right? Wherever you're, Battle of Gettysburg, Battle of Dade Battlefield, wherever you are, okay. Lots of people spilled their blood. A lot of blood went into that soil, literally, okay? A lot of chaos, a lot of trauma. And, then we as a society, we come around and we retire that piece of land. And we say no more trauma or chaos will ever happen on this piece of property. This piece of property saw more chaos and trauma than most pieces of property on the face of the earth will see. So we are going to now retire it, make it a park, and make it forever a peaceful place. Forever a place where birds will chirp and tortoises will lay their eggs, and strange men will come to film for YouTube. I'm just taking this quick view right now. And this is where we've been walking. Oh, I'm feeling tremendous energy right here. Tremendous energy that we walked past. Tremendous positive energy from where we walk through right now, from here. People have it good here in Florida. Sometimes when I'm walking, I feel such a tremendous energy in a spot. I need to just kind of be there for a moment and soak it all in. So that's actually what I did. So now I'm continuing my walk again. Yeah, that corner, I'll turn around, just refresh. The corner where we just came from, I was feeling a tremendous of tremendous vibe and good energy coming from there. Peacefulness. Train was going by off in the distance. Even this view right here. I don't know. I can't even seriously like walk away from the spot right now. I keep being drawn to it. You know, there's something about it. Oh, breathe it in. Breathe the trees. Oh my Lord. I don't know. Is anyone feeling this does this come through? You know, it's the vibes of the area. Man, I tell you, even though we're on the outskirts of a battlefield, it's just so peaceful and quiet nowadays. But that's, you know, that's what the land has earned. It earned itself that tranquility because of the hardship that it once experienced, you know? So I was soaking up the vitamin D, really replenishing, filling up my cup, as they say, all right? Filling up my cup, feeling great. Because yes, I did wake up this morning not kind of feeling myself. So, as my coach used to say, you gotta walk it off. That's what we do here at Walking with Dave, we walk it off. So, as you can see, these are all the baby pine trees that they've planted that they're going to have one day their own a forest. This is a young forest that we see. And we're going to come to another spot that I felt tremendous energy at before again. And I'll tell you, for whatever reason, in that particular area that I wanted to take us to, it's one of the other corners. In that particular area, the way the trees come through the light and hit the grass, there's some, I don't know what it is, but there's something about that brings me right back to the playground of where I grew up in elementary school. And I don't know what it is. I can't. It's really odd actually, and it's just specific little vibe that place, right? You know, conjures up. It was this courtyard where I went to elementary school. It was a really beautiful elementary school that was built in red brick and in the 40s and quite elegant on a beautiful piece of property with nice trees around and stuff like that. It was a great school, and the courtyard in it had a playground on the other side, and I can't say specifically, but it's like somewhere in that I'm getting that whole little nook is what first gives me the same vibes. Now we're kind of on the, as you can see, there's people's private homes. I mean, I'm still in the battlefield section. On the outskirts. We're going to be coming back around, folks, to see the military road and all that. Alright, I'm back on the right road. Coming around. This is you know what, we're just going to make a detour for a second. Some beautiful trees, obviously, as you can see this tree, but what caught my eye, and I'm looking at the camera, it just like doesn't look as big on the camera as it does in real life. This tree, maybe I'll put my hand there, I don't know, does it help? Let me see. Can't even get my hand in the camera. No, it doesn't even really help. I'm seeing if that gave it some scale. This tree is huge. This tree has got it's two giant trunks. That each one of these trunks on its own would be a giant tree. You know what? If I can put my sandal, this is what I want to do. I have a pretty large foot, but it ain't that big. Alright, so this is my sandal. Okay, if we step back, let's see. Does it give scale? Yes, see, it does. Yes, okay. See, look how that is I'm a size 12 too, mind you. Okay, so I'm a pretty, actually it's a size 13. So if you see okay. Yeah, alright, so now that's giving it scale. You see how big this is. Alright, now I'm stepping on all types of like dried twigs and stuff like that. Excellent. Alright. Let me see. This might be the old oak tree that they think was still at the scene of the battle. Live oak. The live oak lives to be one of the oldest, and okay, I'll just read it to you. You can't see under the camera. Live oak. The live oak lives to be one of the oldest and most sturdy of Florida's trees. Although it may grow slower than other trees, it is better able to withstand hurricane winds, fires, droughts, and floods than other hardwoods. In the days of sailing ships, the large arching limbs were highly sought after for making ship ribs and knees. Today, these trees furnish shade and beauty for millions of park visitors throughout Florida. Very true. Blah, 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 blah. I feel like did I sound like a mushmouth in that? It's a possibility. Unbelievable. Yeah. This is why we come to Central Florida, baby. That's how we do it. Beautiful dinosaur trees. I call these dinosaur trees. Live oak, to me, they're dinosaur trees. Look at that. Looks like a dinosaur. Right? Grand beast of nature. Alright, let's carry on. We're going to be reaching that spot I was talking about soon. Let's backtrack so we don't lose any of anything. Just enjoying the walk. Now we're on like a paved road, as you can see. There's a nice old feller on his rider mower riding his grass back there. You can maybe still hear him off in the distance. One of the times I shut the camera off quickly. I didn't want to. I still feel weird kind of just walking around filming. And people up here aren't used to it. It might seem like strange behavior. It's cool being out in nature filming, but anyway, so I put the camera. He was a nice old guy, waved. House is on for sale. Cute little home. Nice quiet life up here. Down here, I should say, well, wherever you're looking from. It's up here is it for me. Yeah, here we are. Okay, now we're coming to this spot that I was talking about that for some reason, it gives me the same vibes as an area of my elementary school back where I grew up. Right here. I'm going to walk through it a few times. I'm approaching from the other angle as well. Yeah, but it's like that specific spot. I want to come here from around. Try not even to really look into the camera. I want to so vibe with myself. I'm probably going to end up spending some time here as I did in the other spot as well. Because, really, I come out here, I would be doing everything I'm like filming right now, I kind of would be doing on my own. Having the same kind of thoughts. I was like, you might as well just share them. Alright, so we're going to come back from around this way. Right there. Right there. I don't know what it is. Deja vu. But it's something about the way the trees look. something about how they each have like a little bed of pine needles around them. Dried pine needles. And there's something about when you come here in the earlier part of the day and you have the sun directly overhead, which is kind of what we have. There's that vibe. Deja vu, man. It looked just like this. Strange. Soaking it up. Some birds. I want to walk through it. There's good energy fields in here. Good vibe field, bruh. Alright, we're going to continue now. Now we're going to be getting on to this right here now is the beginning of the old military road, old Fort King Road that I was talking about. And this path right here, this is one of the last remaining sections of old military road. DeSoto's path. You know, they're pretty sure that he would be using. These are the ancient trails as well. Ancient trails that go back thousands of years. They would have veered off into the different, there would have been the one, well, probably a few main strips. You know, it would have been like a highway system. A few main strips that have exits and veer off a smaller path, smaller footpaths. You know, the main way would have been for horses and carts and stuff like that, and multiple quote-unquote lanes. And then, you know, would have veered off into footpaths of smaller villages. All right. So now we're coming up on where the ambush, kind of where along the ambush took spot. And we have some things to kind of go over and show. There's the main building here. And there's going to be a replica sign. So, all right, this is right where we are on the road right here is kind of where the ambush kind of took place. And as you can see, if there's these log fortifications that represent, and this is what the soldiers had done. They had kind of, in the heat of the battle, they quickly sawed down some logs and tried to build a makeshift barracks to defend themselves. And you know, through archaeology and other ways, they were able to determine that this is kind of where things happen. So we have a replica breastwork, they're calling it, and we'll approach it from a different angle. But we're taking the official path, the direction of where they would have been walking. You hear a train off in the distance. Here's an old replica sign of something where it probably would have looked like back then. See, we're on the way to Fort King, and we're coming from the direction of Fort Brooke, which is where they were coming from. They were traveling from Fort King to Fort Brooke. There we go. We're veering off the road now. Trying to be quiet and pay their respects. Some information board that we can take a look at. Make our way back on the road. Still some more stuff to see. Some monuments to the leaders who fell. So, this battle was a complete blowout. It was a complete massacre. There was really only 2 or 3 American soldiers that ended up living, that crawled through. They were heavily wounded. They crawled through the forest for days, through the swamps, to make their way back to Tampa. But the Seminole Indians, all the 100, there was like 100 men here that were just dead, and they were just kind of left here. And the army didn't return for a few weeks later. All the information I think was on those boards. You can go back and pause it, or I definitely encourage you to look further into this place. It's very fascinating. So, the Indians, the Native American Seminole Indians, just left. No one cleaned anything up. So they came back a few weeks later. Here we go. I'll read this aloud. For 5 days, the Seminoles had stealthily observed the march of Dade's column on its way to reinforce the small garrison at Fort King. Unknowing to Major Dade's command, Osceola, Micanopy, and Alligator had planned to attack Dade's men and kill General Thompson, the Indian agent at Fort King. At 8 o'clock on December 28, 1835, 2/3 of the march had been covered, and the open country here seemed to require less vigilance. Flanking scouts were withdrawn, the day was chilly, and the men trudged along on coats buttoned over their ammunition belts. So, see, they were kind of taking it easy. It was chilly, their coats were buttoned over their ammunition belts, so they didn't have, quick ready at all their stuff, their combat stuff that they needed. He pulled in the flanks, which were the people your flank scouts, who walk on the edges of your platoon as you're marching, and check for people who might be launching an assault. Okay, pulled all this. So they put themselves in a weakening position. Anyway, eventually the army came back. They came and cleaned up the area. They buried them all here, and then for quite a while, I think until like 60 or 70 years later, a few years later. No, what am I talking about? Sorry. 6 years later, I think, a bunch of the veterans who were involved in other respects of the campaign in this area raised money, and they came here and they dug everybody up and the remains, and they brought him and put him in a tomb in St. Augustine. And eventually we will take a ride to St. Augustine as well. We're going to be going to Fort King. We'll visit these boys in St. Augustine. All right, here's another sign. Suddenly, men reeled and fell to a deadly fire poured upon them from beyond the trees and palmettos. Half of Major Dade's command lay dead or wounded. Major Dade and Captain Fraser were killed nearby, and 3 or 6 surviving officers were wounded. Those men remaining after the first onslaught sought cover from which they might return to the fire. After several rounds from the cannon, the Indians withdrew a short distance. The soldiers hastily threw together a low redabout of logs. That's where we were before. Cared for the wounded and collected ammunition from the fallen. This is kind of where it all went down. Here we go. So here's a monument. Now the upside down cannon represents where one of the major generals, or one of the major commanders here, fell and died. Here, Lieutenant Mudge fell. Okay, and so the purpose of the cannon, I think it's symbolic, but also at the time they used cannons to put into the ground to mark the spots of officers and stuff, I believe. All right, here's another thing. I'll read it to us, and I'll try to. Alright. The second phase of the battle lasted until about 2 p.m. Most of the force of 108 men had been killed. The wounded were dispatched by the enemy after the battle ended, with the exception of 3 members of Major Dade's force who survived the attack and returned to Fort Brooke. Chief Alligator, the Seminole leader, claimed that only 3 of his warriors were killed and only 5 were wounded. I believe it because it was quite the surprise attack. The American soldiers really didn't have time to respond properly. Like I said before, they didn't have the proper access to their ammunition belts. The flanks were brought in. They were in a chilled, relaxed atmosphere mode, more so than normal. It's December 28th. Christmas was just a couple days ago. All right, here's another spot. Here, Captain Fraser fell. It's amazing. You know, it's amazing that, you know, someone could have fell in battle in 1835. You know, someone fell in battle. This gentleman, Captain Fraser, fell in battle in 1835, and here we are. They were able to kind of keep that spot sacred. It's pretty amazing actually. You know, this is such a cool spot to come visit. All right, here we go. The scene of the ambush, the scene of the ambush remained deserted for 7 weeks. Finally, on February 20th, 1836, an expedition under General Gaines arrived here, identified the bodies, and gave them proper burial with military rites, placing officers' bodies on the east side of the trail and the enlisted men in 2 graves within the redabout, which is where the logs were back there. The small cannon was retrieved from a nearby pond in which the Seminoles had thrown it, and they mounted it muzzle down as a monument to the dead. Almost 6 years later, on August 15th, 1842, the officers and men of the Army contributed funds to pay for a second interment, and Dade's silent command now rests in the National Cemetery at St. Augustine. So off the top of my head, I had some of those facts right. Here we go. This is one last, because this is where this was like on the front of the. This makes sense because this is where Major Dade fell. Okay, because he's the one leading. He's at the front. So we're at the front because they were walking in this direction on the road and up this way, and the road would have continued onward. Okay, so I'm trying to look at the camera and think of. All right, and so Major Dade was here up in the front, and those other gentlemen were in the back behind him, and then all the other major enlisted men were behind him, marching along where the logs were. And the attack came from this side, from where we started the video. We walked in over here. All right. If you remember, we passed through this thing right here, this gate. As you look around this tranquil setting dominated by ancient live oaks, resurrection ferns, palmettos, and longleaf pines, with songbirds and woodpeckers flitting lightly among the leaves, it can be difficult to imagine that 185 years ago this was the scene of bloodshed, terror, and tragedy. On December 28th, 1835, a U.S. Army column consisting of 107 officers and men under the command of Brevet Major Francis Langhorne Dade was ambushed at this place by 180 Seminole warriors led by Menocabee, Alligator, and Jumper. In a battle that lasted from about 10 a.m. to 2 p.m., all but 3 soldiers, including all the officers, were killed. It was a defeat that shocked the nation, struck at the heart of the American Army, and led directly to the longest and most costly Indian War in American history. For the Seminoles, what came to be known as Dade's Battle was a resounding victory. Only 3 warriors lost their lives, and the attack sent a clear message to an American government bent on a policy of Indian removal that the Seminole people would not give up their homes without a fight. And long-term consequences, however, were devastating. After 7 years of warfare, most Florida Seminoles had been killed or captured and sent off to make new lives in Indian territory, far away in an unknown land called Oklahoma. An unconquered remnant survival deep within the Everglades, the ancestors of today's proud Seminole and Muskogee tribes of Florida. We invite you to explore the park and follow the Battlefield Trail, located beyond the log breastworks, which features interpretive signs providing insight into this rich but little known part of Florida and American history. I think we might have missed something over here. Let me see. A nameplate early on, a story plate early on. Oh, sable palm. Okay, this is just going to kind of talk about the sable palms. Commonly called cabbage palm, Florida's state tree was of great importance to the early Floridians. The trunk was used by the Indians and pioneers for log houses. When cut into small blocks, it became durable scrub brush. The leaves are still used today for the roofs of the Seminole chickees and can be woven into hats and baskets. The heart, called swamp cabbage, can be eaten raw or cooked. However, this kills the tree and should be discouraged. Okay, fair enough. Back in the days, a meal was a meal. Now we got Public, so you don't need to be doing that. Fair enough. All right, we're back at where. So we kind of walked down the line from where Major Dade was and walked down to command. And this is where the remaining enlisted men were. And this is where they made their last stand. This is so now we're kind of off. I left the area of the attack, and I'm now off to like the recreational area again. And I tell you, you know, I don't feel so much tremendous vibes where all the chaos and dramatic things happen, but I step away from there, and now you come to the more recreational parts, and I tell you, that chaos and trauma kind of melts away, and the tranquility comes back, and it becomes a beautiful place again, but certainly where all the trauma and chaos occurred is it's not the same feeling as the other spots that I was pointing out earlier on. It's just not, you know what I mean? Here I'm feeling a tremendous energy. Here I'm feeling good vibes. This is like a classic Florida late 40s, early 50s, I don't know. This is where we were earlier, on the kind of the other side. All right, you know what? Let's make our way into the museum. Oh, you know what? I wanted to share this also, and this is the guy's name I couldn't think of before, but when we were looking at it said 1947 scraped into the concrete back there. I believe it was part of this thing that this guy did. So it says, in memory of J.C.B. Kuntz, whose imaginative planning, earnest leadership, and sturdy endeavor contributed invaluably to the establishment of this Dade Battlefield Memorial, and sometime member of the Florida Legislature, county judge of Sumter County, judge of the 5th Judicial Circuit, public-spirited citizen, his YMCA service with the American forces in World War I made him immensely sensitive to the price that Major Francis L. Dade and his massacred company, all and all the brave American soldiers who have paid for our freedom. And so God bless him. It's so true. So this guy, J.T.B. Coons, was seemed like a real good dude. All right, that was the inside of the museum. I tried not to talk too much. I did some voiceover beforehand. I've read something and then kind of put it over. Oh, there's the train is out. CSX is doing their thing. But I just want to say, listen, we had a wonderful time today. We got our nature walk in. We learned some history. You know, this is kind of my favorite thing to do, is get out there, see some history, get your walk in, you know, kind of fill up your cup, as they call it, okay? So this is what we do here on Walking with Dade. We fill up our cup. We go for walks. We go for adventures. We have explorations. And that's what I'm all about. So, and I wanted to bring the camera and share some of my little mini adventures. Hey, you know what? I'm not going to the most exotic places in the world and testing out the most exotic restaurants, but you know what? Sometimes what's right in your backyard can be some of the most interesting things. So with that said, I'm gonna call it a day. I send you my good vibes. God bless. My name is Dave. We have been walking. This is Walking with Dave. Thank you and have a good day. Until next time, take care.